Hello and welcome to the In the Money Players podcast. This is our show for December 18th, 2020. That's Perrin's birthday. Happy birthday to Perrin. This is a show we've done the last few years. It's our Eclipse Awards special. Plus, we're going to tack on some handicapping at the end. We'll look at the Aqueduct Saturday Pick 5. Busy few days on the In the Money Network. The early watchers of this have a couple of opportunities to check out other shows we're doing with Friday Handicapping, our weekly Stronach 5 show, and also the special show we're doing for the Los Alamitos Pick 6 carryover. You can look for those in your feed. The Stronach show's already there. The Los Al show will be there in short order. Also, going to have a bonus show later tonight about the Gulfstream Force Out on Saturday. So lots of handicapping content, a little of it on this show. I mentioned before, this is our Eclipse Award show. We've done it several times. Happy that we're being produced today by an Eclipse Award winning producer Craig, DJ Unstable himself. Grabbed one of those Eclipses for work he did years ago at the Place with the Letters. Very happy to have him here as always. And also happy to have with us the man who hails from the planet Texas, where he currently is the People's Champion, nearly the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge champion, Jonathan Kitchen. What's up, my man?
What's going on? We got a lot going on, huh? A lot of pick sixes, a lot of action. We got the Stronach 5 today. We got the pick 6 today. We got the pick 6 tomorrow. It's a horse player's dream come true.
You know, I used to take this time of the year off, and I'm glad I don't anymore. It really is a fun time of the year. If you're deep in the weeds, probably like anybody watching our content in the middle of December, you know, maybe there's a few days off around Christmas where there's not too much going on, but December is still a pretty fun time to be a horse player. Where's most of your attention focused?
Yeah, I mean, obviously New York is where, you know, it's kind of become my home circuit now, spending as much time looking at the New York races as I do with the Fox broadcast. And then, you know, look, when opportunities like this pop up at Los Al, the Stronach 5 is a weekly thing for me. And then just kind of, you know, the pick 6 at Gulfstream will be a good opportunity. So I'm more opportunity based at this time of the year. In the summer, I'm pretty much playing every day because I'm alive and I'm breathing.
There is that. Let's talk about these Eclipse Awards, JK. I'm not quite sure how we should do it. Why don't we start with let's start with the horses. We'll go through the various horse categories here. I just have to pull up these past performances, which I thought were open. Oh, they opened in another window over here. That's what happened. I'll just do a little stallifying. Very quickly, Steeplechase, very different category this year with not having their big championship race in the fall. My gut here would be to defer to the grade 1 at Saratoga, the New York Turf Riders, and that would put me squarely in the Rashawn camp as far as the top Steeplechase horse goes. Anything to add on that one, or should we move on to 2-year-old male?
Yeah, let's move on. The only Steeplechase horse I was looking for is the one that John Panagot gave me a tip on one morning at Saratoga, and I got 5-1.
They won. Yeah, they won.
They did. He's not listed here, so that's my vote, but I'd have to write him in.
Yeah, I don't think you want to be writing in the allowance horse from Saratoga over the grade 1 winner. If you wanted to pick another one, you could always go with Snap Decision, who had incredibly impressive body of work, but restricted races. I'm going with the open grade 1 and Rashawn. Let's talk 2-year-old male candidates, JK. I don't think there's too much to debate here. Feels like Essential Quality won this one on the track. Yes, I know that our guy, Jackie's Warrior, actually it has a body of work in terms of amount of grade 1 wins with the two of them that you could make the case, and then also with the grade 2 Saratoga Special. But I mean, for me, the head-to-head matchup for Eclipse Award voting time isn't the time to be a wise guy and talk about attending the pace and this and that. For me, Eclipse Award voting, it's more about like what actually happened. The old Bill Parcells line. It's not, we missed that one field goal and we had that bad penalty, so we could easily be 6-0 instead of 4-2. No, you are what you are. Essential Quality is the Breeders' Cup champion and the juvenile winner for me at the Eclipse Awards. Any dissension from you?
No, essential quality. There's no reason to have these fake debates like we're on some kind of ridiculous show. Essential quality is the winner. I think Golden Pal probably gets to be a finalist there. Jackie's Warrior's a finalist. All three nice colts, but essential quality is the champion.
Yeah, you're trying to create podcast content. And hey, I don't judge because we've done this before. But when you start having debates about like who the third nominee should be, that's just not our style. We cut to the chase and bang it out. And with that, we'll move on to the 2-year-old fillies. JK, I'll let you lead with this one. Looks like another category that should be pretty straightforward with the Breeders' Cup holding sway. But I don't know. Maybe you think turf racing has come along enough in the USA that this could be more of a debate. Where do you stand?
No, I think that in these situations where there's it's kind of close between a turf horse and a dirt horse in these open categories, we're always going to kind of defer to dirt. Dirt has a big presence in this country. It has the biggest presence in terms of money and purses and breeding and all that stuff. Vequist is the champion here. Aunt Pearl will run second in that race. And Aunt Pearl is obviously talented in her own right, but you got to go to the dirt horse in here in Vequist.
It is interesting how some categories specify turf. Some seem to be inviting the debate. Maybe that's part of the idea of maybe that's the Eclipse Awards hosts trying to create some interesting conversation. I would vote for a turf horse in this category, but only when there isn't something clear. If it was a crazy horse that won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, I could see having that debate. But here we have one who was a dual grade 1 winner with a nice grade 2 effort in between. It's Vequist. And with that, we'll move on to a very easy one, the 3-year-old males. JK, I'll let you sing the praises of Authentic first.
Yeah, Authentic to the hole here. This won't be his only trophy that he'll be picking up. It should be pretty heavy. If you win the Kentucky Derby and you win the Classic, it's pretty much a wrap.
Game over as far as that goes. Yeah, the Tis the Law fans will point maybe to those two efforts, but it's just I don't think you can make a serious case that he could be put in this category over Authentic. This brings up though. We'll go on a little tangent here since we're flying through these. I had another comment I didn't get to the other day when we did our listener appreciation show. Somebody was calling me on the carpet to some degree, JK, for my comments about the Preakness with Swiss Skydiver and Authentic, where I said, change the trips, change the result. I wasn't being literal. I wasn't saying if Swiss Skydiver had gone to the lead. What I meant, and maybe I could have been more clear, I just feel like there were circumstances in that Preakness that greatly affected the result. And that if Authentic had been more aggressively ridden early and gone right to the rail, and or if he simply hadn't given up the rail to Swiss Skydiver with the way the track was playing that day, that's what affected the result. I wasn't. Don't take me literally about that.
Yeah, well, whoever came for you can come for me, because Authentic, what they know about this horse now, needing to get to the front end and being a little bit more aggressive, Authentic would have beat Swiss Skydiver. The reason that Swiss Skydiver won is because Authentic was passively ridden that day, and then when they show up against the best horses in the world with an aggressive ride, he wins a $5 million race. So come for me. Authentic is the better horse, and Authentic would have won if they knew what they knew now.
Let's move on to the 3-year-old fillies, and I think it's a good segue, JK, because I'm going Swiss Skydiver here. Yeah, this was an impressive body of work, and I'm very much willing to excuse the distaff. Stumbled at the break, still made that middle move, understandably wasn't able to finish things off. But, I mean, she's better than she showed that day. The Alabama win was a tour de force. The Preakness, again, when it comes to Eclipse Award voting, I'm not going to worry too much about, and even so, the horse, maybe on ability, we're rating the horse that won the Derby and the Classic better than her. Still would have been no shame, even if she'd ran second beaten a full length in the Preakness. She's the best of the division for me, but there are other horses you can argue in here. Are you willing to take me on and argue one of the others?
No, I look, she did really well on the Kentucky Oaks kind of trail. Winning the Gulfstream Park Oaks, the Fantasy, the Santa Anita Oaks. And then she ran second in the Bluegrass, which I thought was a nice accomplishment when she ran second to Art Collector. She won the Alabama. She ran second in the Oaks. She won the Preakness. I mean, she's absolutely the one in here. I guess you could make a conversation about Gamine but I think that the safety net to kind of end that conversation is, Gamin's probably going to get her trophy elsewhere. So did Gamin really have the year she needs to have 2 trophies and Swiss Skydiver has none? I think it makes sense that Swiss Skydiver gets this one and Gamin can snatch the other one.
Especially because Swiss Skydiver has the head-to-head win.
Absolutely.
That's what really seals the deal on that for me. Let's talk about the older males, JK. This is one where I'm assuming you're going to have your silver wig out, but we also though know you have a deep and abiding love for Vekoma, who's a reasonable option in this category. Where did you decide to go when it came to older dirt male?
Yeah, we talked about it earlier with the 2-year-old situation. I think when it's close, you defer to dirt. When it's close, you defer to 2-turn races. And Vekoma hopefully will get a trophy in another category. He's got the 2 grade 1s in the Met Mile, one of my favorite races, and a race that I think you can use in any category you need it. He's got the Carter win. He was undefeated. If he would have run in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, I think he would have won that race. That would make for a more interesting conversation when it comes to older dirt, but you can't skip out on Improbable. Improbable won 3 grade 1s, if I'm not mistaken, was second in the Classic. He won the Awesome again, the Whitney, the Gold Cup, and obviously ran well enough in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Arguably, he ran the best race in that race. Not that that counts for anything when it comes to this, but Improbable for me, for sure.
What about that trip in the Breeders' Cup Classic makes you think he might have even been better than the horse who handled him by 2 1/4 Authentic?
He was just wide all the way around there. In the first turn, in the second turn, I think Irad probably had to be a little bit more passive just because they knew Authentic was going to go. And I just think that the whole situation, there was a chance in which he would have run better. And if you look at what Marshall Graham, I think Marshall Graham, right after the Breeders' Cup, look back at his Twitter profile, I'm pretty sure he did a deal where he adjusted the time based on the ground lost. And Improbable ran the faster race for what it's worth.
Yeah, I can absolutely see it. That would have that makes perfect sense to me. I just wanted to spell it out. I think sometimes we have a wide variety of people who listen to the shows, including some players who are brand new who might hear you say that and not have any idea where it's coming from. And right, as we've talked about before with ground loss, we're not like the biggest ground loss guys. We think plenty of days. It's not a disadvantage to be 2 and 3 wide. I did think that ground loss meant something on Breeders' Cup Saturday, if not Breeders' Cup Friday. But anyway, that's a down the rabbit hole conversation we'll get to, I'm sure, as more of these horses start to run back. Candidate for the shortest conversation of any of these, JK, when it comes to older dirt female. I'll bet you could do this one in 2 words.
Yeah, Monomoy Girl. But I will say this. Who would you pick if Monomoy Girl was not in the category?
Okay, now we're doing that podcast thing where we're getting.
I'm just curious.
Gosh, it's tricky because the especially because like the Saudi Cup. From what I remember of reading the rules, it's interesting because we're looking through the PPs that get sent to the Eclipse Award ballotors. And it's interesting that the foreign races are appearing on the PP, which from what I remember from back when we used to vote for this stuff, we don't have votes right now, which is our own fault for not getting into these various industry organizations. There's an off-season project for us, JK, to get into the either the turf riders or the broadcasters group so we can have votes again. But anyway, obviously I'm talking about whether or not you think Midnight Bisou is eligible because she that big win alone, if that counted in Saudi, would maybe elevate her into second, but I don't think it counts. So does that lead us around to Serengeti Empress? What do you think?
I would abstain, I think. I mean, I'm trying to find someone who won 2 grade 1s, and I don't see anyone who did outside of Monomoy Girl. They all just kind of had one.
I think Serengeti is the closest there with the going down the nose in the was it the Derby City Distaff. So yeah, it becomes tricky beyond that. It's definitely one of the easiest ones, and we'll be talking about Monomoy Girl a little bit later in the show if you catch my meaning. Let's talk about the male sprint, JK. This is a category. It's a little tricky to say the least, and I know it's one where you have a strong opinion. I think somehow it comes down to whether or not you can accept the Met Mile as being relevant for the sprint category. If you do think the Met Mile is relevant for the sprint category, then this becomes, I think, a relatively easy decision in the direction of Vekoma. But there's also the thought that the Breeders' Cup was invented to decide these championship races, and Whitmore, this tough old warrior, won that one. I think there's compelling cases to be made for both. Where do you go here?
Well, I believe the Met Mile is like a wild card, like a joker. You can kind of use it for anything. You ever play that game Uno and you get like the wild? To me, it's a wild. If you want to use it for sprint, you can do that. If you want to use it for older dirt, long, you can do that as well. So I think that Vekoma won 2 grade ones. Whitmore won 1, and he won a grade 1 plus, but Vekoma did win 2 grade 1s. He had an unbelievable performance in those 2 races. He was undefeated this year around 1 turn. And the other issue I have is that, and I know this doesn't count, but this is how I feel. Vekoma was a morning line favorite. He would have been odds on in that race, and I think he absolutely wins if he runs in it, if he was, if he didn't have the fever. If Vekoma would have run in the race and Whitmore still would have won, then we have no conversation. Whitmore's the winner. But Vekoma wasn't in there. And I just feel like Vekoma's resume this year was better as a whole than what Whitmore was. I mean, Whitmore lost, he lost in some grade 2s and he's got a grade 3 win, and he lost in a listed stake. I just, for me, it's Vekoma in here.
I can see the case for either one, and have relationships with both sets of connections. So it's one of these where I guess I'll try to be happy either way, but I think you make a compelling case for Vekoma, JK, when it comes to sprint. Hey, we're doing something different. This is the first time we've done an Eclipse Awards show with video, which means this will be up on our YouTube page, which has really come a long way in the year 2020. I think largely thanks to the great work that Matt Bernier has done and the little community he's created in the comments there, as well as obviously being supported by DJ Unstable himself, producer Craig, Eclipse Award-winning producer Craig. Let's get some other people's buy-ins on a couple of key categories. Go ahead and drop in the comments on YouTube who your pick would be in the sprinter category we've just been talking about, and also give us your horse of the year candidate down there. We'll try to have some fun in the YouTube comments and get a little bit of conversation going there. Female sprint, JK, I think you can be rocking the silver wig here pretty safely.
Yeah, Gamine. I think if you win the grade 1 test and you win the filly and mare sprint, it pretty much wraps it up. The performance in the Acorn, I feel very similar to the Acorn. The 1-turn mile, you can use it in whatever category you need to use it in. It's kind of that wild card. Gamine, to me, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I don't see how you can make a case for really anybody else. This one was decided in the Breeders' Cup filly and mare sprint. If Serengeti Empress had won there, obviously it would be a different conversation. Let's talk about the male turf candidates, JK. Do we look in the direction of Channelmaker, who really reinvented himself late in the season, got that brace of grade 1 wins, and gave us, well, me anyway, you had a saver with him, nearly gave me a heart attack when it looked like he was going to win the Breeders' Cup turf for a minute.
Well, one of the things I like about him, outside of the fact that he's won 2 grade 1s and he hit the board, ran 3rd in the biggest grade 1 turf race we have in this country, but he ran 8 times, which I think is pretty cool for an older horse. He showed up, he's a 6-year-old, and he ran. And he ran at lots of different racetracks. And so I really appreciate that from him. So I think he has to win, I think he has to win. And if in the unfortunate event that our friend Randy Hill gets snubbed in the sprint, he's got Channelmaker to fall back on.
Folks should check out that recent JK +1 episode with Randy Hill. Definitely worth doing. Speaking of things that people may or may not have gotten around to yet, JK, have you seen this amazing Jason Beam video about rooting that he did for our friends over at Twin Spires?
Oh, so good. I tweeted about it. My favorite was the Baychalk, which is a good one. The Rotundo, Team Rotundo, the Matisse brothers would call them the Pounders, but the way, theirs is good. The way they root. And then you got to hate the Stop the Race guy. I think that I think that there's lots of issues in racing we got to try to get figured out. We got to figure out the timing situation. Takeout's a problem. Obviously, the drug testing, getting all that stuff cleaned up, the stewarding thing. But the number one thing on the list is we got to get people to stop saying stop the race when they break from the gate.
You can get rid of one thing in this world, JK, the stop the race guy or green texters. Who do you get rid of?
Whoa, I put them both on an island. Put them both on an island.
The reason
and I'll put them on an island right there with the aisle jackers.
We got to get that shirt made. That's
aisle jacking in COVID is even worse. I mean, I'm sure. Get away from me. Why are you standing next to me?
Yeah, it's weird.
So
I had some uncomfortable moments on the flight home from Breeders' Cup. That's for sure. So I mentioned the Rooter thing to bring up an embarrassing story of mine from the Breeders' Cup. I'd say we were rooting a little bit for Tarnawa down the stretch. Do you think that's fair?
I think so.
Screaming our heads off. I remember you saying, she's coming, when I was like, she's so far back. You never lost the faith. But I do remember down the lane screaming my head off and then looking and seeing that about 6 feet away from me watching the race was Bill Mott. I felt like a real jerk.
He'll be all right. Bill's won enough races. He'll be all right.
And he's about to get an Eclipse Award by proxy with this one. Let's talk about female turf candidates, JK. How do you feel about the Breeders' Cup runner who comes over here and wins one race? Is that good enough for you to give Tarnawa this award, or do you want to go in a different direction?
Yeah, I want to go in a different direction. I want look. If I could,
loyal is this guy, folks? The horse gets him second in the BCBC, and he's just going to vote her right out.
Well, she only ran here once, and you can't really count you're not supposed to count what happened over there. And I think Rushing Fall deserves it. She deserves it for her performances this year, but she also deserves it because of her resume. What she did in her career, winning a grade 1 every year she was racing 2, 3, 4, and 5. She finally got to Diana, which was one that I felt was missing from her resume. She won the Ginny Wiley. She ran second in the Breeders' Cup affiliate mare turf. So I just think she deserves it because her on the track performances this year, but also a little bit of that lifetime achievement. I think she's a champion.
I agree with you. I was kind of clowning around about Tarnawa as much as I love her. The body of work of Rushing Fall and this campaign with the 2 grade 1s and just going down a neck to a good one in Daria, I think Rushing Fall gets the nod as far as that goes. As great as Tarnawa was, and really hoping Tarnawa stays in training. Sounds like that's the plan. Make a run at the Arc, and who knows, maybe come by and try to get another Breeders' Cup win next year. That would be super fun to see. So I think we've rolled through the horse categories, but there are other categories to talk about here. One category that if I were voting, I don't always feel like I have the most confidence when it comes to voting for Apprentice Jockey. Now, I don't believe in abstaining because I feel like it's sort of an honor to get to do these awards. And I feel like we're as qualified as anybody to do a little bit of extra research and try to figure out who the best apprentice rider is. Now, just to do this podcast and not actually voting, I'll admit I haven't really been grinding through these stats and picking, doing all the work that one should do for casting a ballot. So with that preamble, have you looked at the apprentice jockey category and which way do you want to go?
Yeah. So it's tricky because I think what happens typically with this award is they kind of just default to whoever has the most earnings. And or whoever has the most wins. And so Carrera obviously has the most wins, is right up there in earnings. I'm a little bit biased with Charlie Marquez because of his involvement with Angel Cordero. I'd love to see Charlie get that done, but I'm okay with whoever has the most earnings winning the Eclipse Award. I wish it was a little bit more comprehensive, but the problem is I don't see these people ride every day. A lot of them are riding at smaller circuits, so you don't get to kind of understand what kind of riders they are. Louis Cardenas obviously could be worth a mention based on his earnings and the fact that he competed a tougher circuit, but he only had 34 wins. So is that enough to kind of move him to the top? Although he still did make the 1.8 million. I would look. If I'm being honest of what I think the award should be, I would give it to Louis Cardenas. I don't think Louis Cardenas will win, but that's who I would give it to. Competing, getting 34 wins on the racetracks that he was riding at, And it, the purse is kind of proved that. So that would be my vote. I'll be rooting for Louis Cardenas and Charlie Marquez, but I would imagine Carrera will probably pull it off.
Yeah, Correa with 109 wins and nearly 1.6 million in earnings. But to your point, JK, what's more impressive, to be an absolute all-star in AAA, or to go to the major leagues and be competitive, which Cardenas was able to do? So I don't think it's crazy at all. I think Cardenas will certainly be a finalist and wouldn't be out of it. Charlie Marquez, definitely a rider I'm following with interest going forward. And the other who surely deserves a call, nearly the winner in earnings and not too far behind Correa in the win column, is Alexander Crispin, another name that at least deserves a shout while we're talking about these things. The winner surely comes from that group. Again, if I were voting, I would try to talk to people who watch these riders regularly and try to gather some other intel or create some of our own metrics. But just looking at what the voters see, that's where my head is at as far as that goes. Who should we talk about next? Why don't we talk about trainers? Is this Brad Cox's year, JK? Second in wins in the nation, second in earnings, but really that cherry achievement of the 4 Breeders' Cup wins, I think that's what pushes him over the top eventually. You're going to break out the silver wig. You're going to go to your man. You're going to break out your long-haired wig for Mr. Asmussen. Where are you going for trainer?
Yeah, I mean, I think Brad deserves it. Obviously, I don't want to call him an up-and-comer. He's been here for a while, but what he's done this year deserves recognition. Steve Asmussen, obviously a previous winner of the Eclipse Award, Bob Baffert, Chad Brown. Those guys have all won. Let's go ahead and get Brad involved into that equation, especially based on the year that he had. I thought he had a phenomenal year with Monomoy Girl and Aunt Pearl and Essential Quality. I mean, he's going to have 2 or 3 champions and maybe a horse that'll run second. I think that he deserves it here. And I think it's fair to say, look, I'm a huge fan of Bob Baffert, but I think it's fair to say that some of the laboratory issues that he's had this year should put a little bit of a ding in his year. And I don't know if having him hoist a trophy at the end of the year when there's someone else that's equally kind of qualified as the year was. So I've got no problem with Brad Cox in this spot.
Fair enough. Maybe not the best look, especially like you said, when it's a scrum there at the top in terms of the statistics. Let's talk about jockeys, JK. Where does your head go with this one? It might be pretty straightforward this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that year in and year out, what IRAD accomplishes, wherever he goes, he wins. He always has. He's always involved in these big races, big horses. He rides a lot. You look at all of his starts. He's up there with 1,200 starts. So he's up there in starts. He's up there in earnings. I've got no problem giving it to IRAD in here. I do think that Louis had a heck of a year and just reminded everyone how good he is with the run he had at Saratoga and some of his accomplishments. So I think IRAD makes sense, but I would also not have a problem with Johnny either. Just based on some of the big races that he won, winning the Derby, winning the Classic. Those are all things that if you can pull off those 2 races, I would never have a problem with someone winning an award based on just those 2 performances.
You might see that there. I do look at it as a little bit more of an in aggregate type thing. So Velasquez with under the 100 wins. I mean, though, how impressive is this? 98 wins, 15 million. Getting back to those big races and the big race rider that he really still is. But I feel like this award, I want to reward the day in, day out. IRAD with 289 wins in his 1,200 starters, earnings of 20.6 million. I think that's where my vote is going to go in that category.
And you got to just at least name check this person. He's not going to win. He won't be a finalist. But Tyler Gaffalione with 258 wins, right behind IRAD, riding in a lot of the same places that IRAD is. Obviously, Tyler went to Kentucky when IRAD was in New York, so there was that. But Tyler had a phenomenal year. He deserves some recognition.
Let's talk about the owners category, JK. This one is another one of these ones where I'd want to talk to industry people and make sure I'm not missing anything. I mean, I know what I can see from the numbers that get put out by the folks, the NTRA, who put these Eclipse Awards together. And I know what I'd come up with just looking at those, but I feel like sometimes in this category and breeder, you can miss a trick by just looking at the raw dope, which is all I've done to this part. Again, not voting. So where do you want to go for owner? What do you look for in an owner?
I think if you would ask any of these owners if they want to, if they had their year, so you ask Godolphin, you ask Klarovich, Gary Barber, Three Diamonds, Calumet, Judmont, End Zone, you ask all of them, do you want the year that you had, or do you want to win the Haskell, the Derby, and the Classic? And I think they would all take the Haskell, Derby, and Classic. So I'm good with Spendthrift, My Racehorse, Mataket, and Starlight on Authentic's performances this year.
I think that'll get a lot of attention. It just depends, I guess, how impressed you want to be by Godolphin's 73 wins and all the various stakes races that they won. I mean, I certainly think you can make a Godolphin case, the case for the four-headed monster Authentic owners with the 4-3-1-0 line and the 6.8 million. I mean, again, it depends on exactly what you're looking for. I suppose there is an end zone case to be made with 156 winners as well.
I wonder how many Eclipse trophies extras you can order duplicates if you win. You can order duplicates of the trophy. I think your first one's free, but then you can order duplicates. I'm curious to see how many My Racehorse owners decide they put up $120 or whatever it was, $200 for the horse. What's wrong with the $2,000 trophy?
Yeah, I was going to say they'll surely pay more for the trophy. Maybe they should come up with a less tier, a mini, exactly, a version, so all those people can get involved. That's too funny. I love it. Let's talk about breeder. Very similar category for me in terms of I'd really like to talk to some industry folks. I mean, a few things that leap off the page are the grade 1 wins, WinStar breeding. 5 grade 1 winners coming up with 137 wins on the year. Calumet, giant amount of winners and money with the 303 winners and over 9 million in earnings. Same exact question as I asked you the other one. What do you look for in this category and where would you go?
Yeah, I mean, I look for the big horse. I look for when these guys and gals who are breeding in this country, when they pair horses together, they're looking for 2 things. They're looking to win the Kentucky Derby, they're looking to win the Breeders' Cup Classic, or they're looking to sell for a lot of money. When they go to sleep at night, after when the baby foals, they're thinking, oh, come on, please be a runner, please be a runner. And although Calumet and WinStar throw out a lot of numbers and had a good year with big money, they didn't breed a Kentucky Derby winner. They didn't breed a Classic winner. And I feel like that carries a lot of weight. Those are the 2 biggest races in this country and arguably 2 of the biggest races in the world. They're definitely in the top 5. You put the ARC in there, the Melbourne Cup. It's right there in the mix. And so for me, you have to really respect that double of winning the Derby and winning the Classic. It's just you're not only winning the Derby, but you're also winning the Classic with a 3-year-old. That's when they went to sleep as breeders. This is what they dreamed to do, and I think they should be rewarded. So Peter Blum for me.
JK making the case for Peter Blum Thoroughbreds on the breeder Eclipse side, and that means there's only one award left, JK. It is Horse of the Year, and is it really just a 2-way battle between Monomoy Girl and Authentic?
Yeah, but I don't even know if I would call it a 2-way battle. I think it's a wrap. I think that it's definitely just going to be
Authentic winning the 2 big races. I mean, I think you're right. I mean, when you look at it, you got those are unrestricted races versus restricted races. When we started this conversation half an hour ago, when I was talking about the Steeplechase Award, I made that point about the runner who's winning novice races against the one winning grade 1 against Open. Monomoy Girl, in theory, could have run in those races, and so I mean, I think she's nice one to complete the exacta.
Yeah, she's a fan favorite, and obviously a Jonathan Kinchin and Marshall Graham favorite as well. But she only won 2 grade 1s. I mean, Authentic won more than that. He won 3, and so it just on that it could be enough. Just winning the Classic, it could be enough. Just winning the Derby, it's Authentic for me.
You make a good case, as you have on all of these. Authentic, JK, and my vote for Horse of the Year. And the interesting thing about Monomoy Girl, with her staying in training, is my instinct, no inside information, is that you don't keep her in training to beat the fillies again. and that she will have a target against males at some point, whether that's the Pegasus or the Saudi race or the Breeders' Cup Classic. It feels like that 1.25 miles might be a little bit more than she wants. So I'm not thinking that, but I mean, who knows, depending on what she does when she returns to training. Do you imagine we'll get to see Monomoy Girl race outside her own sex next year?
I hope so. I'd love to see her run the Met Mile. I think she'd be tough in there.
That's interesting.
Love to see her run in the Whitney or the Woodward. If the Woodward goes back to 1 mile and 1/8, love to see her run in that at Saratoga this summer. You bring her back, like you said. You don't bring her back to be like, man, let's be conservative and try to win the distaff again. You bring her back to try to extend her legacy, which was already great.
Why don't we do some handicapping, my friend? Shall we pivot and look ahead to Aqueduct on Saturday? You have any final thoughts about this year's Eclipse Awards before we do that?
No. I mean, it's always fun. It's a cool part of our game. I like to explain it to people that don't know racing. It's like the Grammys or the Oscars for horse racing, and it's a fun event. It's unfortunate they won't have it this year in person. You'll be able to watch it online.
There's going to be a virtual event, right?
Yeah, there'll be a virtual event, but being able to, and I think actually Gabby, Acacia, and Brittany are hosting. I'm sure that was released, but
we might have some. It might be a news flash here. We might have some breaking news on the podcast. I haven't heard that yet.
Oh, oops! They hosted last year, so whatever.
They did a great job last year, and it'd be amazing to see them back on there this year. Hopefully, that's the way that one's going to play out. I'm sure there'll be news on it soon, and more coverage from us based on the results of that. Okay. Let's talk some handicapping. As I mentioned, you can look elsewhere for our coverage of this Los-Al Friday, the Stronach 5 Friday, and then later on we're going to do some Gulfstream Saturday as a special show, sort of a preview of the vision that I have for ITM Plus for 2021. But we'll talk about that later. Now we're going to talk about these Aqueduct races. Before we fully move on from the Eclipse Awards, I just want to encourage people one more time. Go ahead and drop your picks for Sprinter and Horse of the Year, and maybe filly and mare turf too. If you're feeling froggy, jump and put your older turf filly in the comments on the YouTube channel as well. And while you're there, go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. That would be an easy, nice way you can support us. But right now we're going to talk about race number 6 at Aqueduct on Saturday. It is a 3-and-up allowance race, going 6.5 on the dirt. This one for 3 and up. You want me to start, JK, or you want to start?
No, I got it. I think that Rob Atras has done a pretty good job with the thankless situation of taking a lot of these horses from Jason Service and all of us saying, how's he going to move one up off of Jason? And he's done okay. And both these horses have run all right for him, Chateau and Clinch. So I think that you want to use this entry in here. You want to use cost basis, a horse, obviously, for Chad Brown that should run well in here, but doesn't have to win. And then I thought the 7 was another one, Montauk Traffic for Linda Rice. This horse has got some nice races on the dirt, and I felt like that kind of outside draw should help. And if the entry doesn't show up or Chad's horse isn't as good as it might appear, I thought the 7 was one you wanted to use as well. And I'm okay fading the 9, Happy Farm. We talked about how Rob Atras has done a good job taking these horses from Jason and them still running well. Well, Linda hasn't really had as many opportunities to do so, and so it's the wait and see approach for me with this one.
I'm with you on fading Happy Farm. Montauk Traffic, the 7, who you mentioned, my top pick based on that promise showed early in the career. If he's developed at all since then, might just be better than this group. The layoff is a little bit of a concern, but I will say this. I mind the layoff less because of the way I see this race panning out, which is for Montauk Traffic to come from off the pace. I don't know. This might just be me theorizing and thinking too much, but I feel like it's easier for closers sometimes, like closers who are going to get setups to come back off a long break, and as opposed to a sprinter, a speedy sprinter needing fast twitch muscles off the break. I'd be a little more worried about that. I think Montauk Traffic is the right one. And then I was going to use cost basis as well. And I did want to mention one other, curious to get your opinion, JK. Do you think the 5 Mad Monies has any chance? I feel like I like the Rudy Rodriguez claim back angle, and this one has some races that could put him in the mix.
Yeah, a horse like this, though, Rudy put this horse on the turf quite a bit. And Rudy's not like a put him on the turf guy. And so the fact that he did that, it makes me think that possibly this horse is better on the turf. But where is he going to run on the turf this time of the year in New York? Shows up here. You got to run him. They're ready to go. You run him in here. Rudy doesn't really ship down to Florida. So, look, I get the argument and everything you're saying makes sense, but I'll let this one beat me.
I think you brought up something that people who are playing Aqueduct a lot this time of year should think about, which is there are certainly horses just running in spots where they're not necessarily suited because that's the spot they can run in once the turf season was over. I felt like there was enough of an angle here and maybe enough of a price to include as a backup, but that's just a good angle to think about in general. With that, JK, we're going to move on to race number 7. We've got 20 dime claimers going 6 furlongs on the dirt here. Once again, 3 and up. I was going to go with number 8, Square Shooter, as the top pick. Horses that get claimed a lot, I like that. It just shows that they're sound for the level. And it felt like Square Shooter could get a pretty decent setup in this spot. And then I was also going to use number 7, Vineyard Sound, who I thought was a good candidate to potentially be the best of speed. And I like the fact that this isn't the need the lead type. This is one that could stalk and pounce as well. I was thinking you might be able to get out 8 and 7 in race number 7. Where did you go?
Yeah, I like the 7 too. I noticed the 7 was entered on December 4th and was scratched. I don't know why or how or what happened in that situation, but for me, when that happens, I like to, and then they're entered for 12.5 and now they're in for 20. To me, it feels like the word was out they were going to get claimed. They didn't want to lose the horse, so they scratched the horse and then they come back at a higher price. Look, that's just, I'm completely making up a story, but that's kind of how I look at those situations. The 5 Shamrock, I agree, I think is interesting with Ray Handel. Tom Morley aggressively dropped the horse for 16. Ray picks the horse up and then comes back and runs for a little bit higher. And then the 6 Fox Red is just one that I wanted to point out. Natalia Lynch used to work with Jeremiah Englehart. So there is whatever, she came from that school of Jeremiah. I think Jeremiah is always dangerous off the claim. So she might be one that's interesting to take a look at. But my lean was 5, 7, and 8 with the 6 as more of a backup, like a B type.
Let's talk about race number 8. We've got 3 and up New York bred allowance fillies and mares going 6 furlongs on the dirt. And I'll let you kick this one off.
Yeah, I liked the 4 Loon Lake. I thought with Kendrick, he's been riding lights out. This horse is tactical, should be forward. Can run on any. Yeah, he can get on any type of surface, run on sloppy with a little bit of moisture, can win on fast. I like horses that have that tactical speed. I think should run well. Snicket had a tough trip last time. And still got the job done. So the other one that I would want to use in here, those are the 2 main ones for me. I thought Eloquent Speaker coming in off the break is at least worth considering, but could be a little bit over bet considering the situation. Probably would use just from the outside draw. If the horse is drawing down the inside, I could get into tossing, but the 4 and the 6 are my main horses in here.
We're reading each other's mail pretty much. I had Snicket on top with a very similar note to what you said. That one was off a break, could move forward again. And Loon Lake, potential wire-to-wire threat, looking to make it 3 on the bounce. I will mention one other in Honey Money, who I thought, I wasn't sure how the rail was the last day. And if it wasn't good and you can upgrade that run, this is one who could do better here. At least as a backup, I'd want the 5, but I'm mainly 6, 5, and 4 when it comes to race number 8. Let's talk about race number 9. We move into the featured race of the day. It is the Queens County Stakes going 1 mile and an eighth. And I thought that the 5 Musical Heart looked like the right one in this spot, off the claim for Atris, aggressive rider in Carmouche, and just not a lot of speed in this spot. I think Musical Heart might be able to lead him from gate to wire. What did you think about the feature?
Yeah, I just needed those 2 favorites, the 4 and the 5 in this spot. Danny California, if we were back in Saratoga, I would have used. I mean, he was on some run at Saratoga, the Noda brothers and this horse, Danny California, but he seems to kind of have tailed off. He tried that marathon race at Keeneland, didn't go great, then came back to Aqueduct, didn't run well. So maybe he's kind of gone sour. So just the 2 favorites for me, based on their numbers, based on their performances, based on their tactical ability, their riders, their trainers. I'm good with all, and I'll just try to get by this race with those 2.
I'm with you on also using some Backside of the Moon, who of course beat Musical Heart last time out. And if I'm wrong about the pace and it ends up being a bit of a scrum up front, could certainly do that once again and confirm that form. I think Musical Heart has a little advantage. I will press a little bit, but 5-4 for me on most of the tickets there in the featured ninth race. Let's talk about this nightcap, JK. We've got a 3 and up New York bred claimer, $25,000 level, going 7 furlongs on the dirt. How are we going to get paid?
Why are the last races at New York always so hard? I swear I'm always like, I don't know. Who knows? I've had a thing for this horse Just Right for a while. I liked him in Saratoga. He ran well at Aqueduct. Now he's switching hands. I'm okay with that, right? I mean, how much, don't get me wrong, but how much attention is Todd really giving to a 25 claimer, right? You feel like the horse probably just goes out there. The vet looks at him. He gets what he needs, supplements. He eats. He works. That's pretty much like the end of it, right? It's not like he's in stall number 1 and Todd's got a security camera on him. You would think that sometimes when these horses like this that have some talent but are a little bit lower level switch to a smaller barn, they get all that attention that they need. That Just Right's probably in the 1 hole for Toscano, right? So I think that he'll still run well. I'm not going to look at this as he's off of Todd there. The Caretaker is another one who's a claim back for Morley. Linda Rice took the horse. Ran well for Linda, ran well for Tom. So I'm hoping this one will run well. He's got Kendrick towards the outside as well. And then Durkin's Call is just a horse I've been chasing for a long time, looking for that right spot. This horse is going to win at a big price at some point. He's probably a horse I would use as a B. But I'm pretty heavy on my boy Just Right, keeping going. And then the claim back, the 11, the Caretaker.
Reading each other's mail again. I had it 11-5 right on top. One other backup. I don't really have anything to add. I thought you made the case great. I was thinking as a backup somewhere, the 2 entry, Dark Money especially. I was thinking there was a world in which could be the best of speed in the second start for Linda Rice. Has some races fast enough, but mostly the Caretaker off the trip I see in the Morley claim back angle and Just Right. I think it's going to get the right kind of trip, and I agree. I think the market might think the claim is more of a negative than it is. You had one more thing on this?
Yeah, I mean, of those 2 horses, Linda scratched those horses 15 times since January of 2019 combined. One of them's likely going to scratch. She was probably looking to see who drew where and all that. So a lot of times in those situations, in general, entries are overbet. And entries are still overbet when one of the horses scratches. Because people in their brain have kind of, I got to use the 2 in this sequence. I got to use the 2 in the sequence the night before, the morning of. The scratch comes in. I'll let Linda beat me with one of these.
I agree with you completely about not liking to bet entries. I just felt like in this kind of spot, I just wanted to have the best speed, and I really thought there was a good chance.
I like Dark Money much more than I do I Love Jackson. But if Dark Money ends up scratching and I Love Jackson runs. But I would imagine I Love Jackson will scratch. Is the 2B, but the 14 hole, she's like I said, she scratched this horse like 12 times since January 2019. I would imagine that he'll be getting scratched again come Saturday.
Okay, there we have it. That's our thoughts on the Pick 5 at the Big A. And so concludes our Eclipse Awards show. One more time, I'll remind folks to go over to our YouTube channel. Please like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. And in the comments, drop your choices for the Eclipse Award winner in the categories of Sprinter, Older Turf, Female, and Horse of the Year. What else do we have to do? We'll thank some partners. We'll thank our friends at 10 Strike Racing. You still okay with me thanking 10 Strike every show, JK, even though Marshall snapped you in the BCBC? Is that all right?
Yeah, actually, you got the email, I'm sure, too. 10 Strike announced like their new kind of offering for next year. So, they're not actually big on like having a bunch of new people involved. They are very selective. They don't want to have
friends of friends.
They don't want some jackwagon giving them a hard time about where they're running. They want people that are going to have fun with the experience and kind of fall in line with the process. They don't look to turn a profit. So if you are interested, reach out to them and maybe they'll be able to get you involved in something if you're not an annoying person.
I did know about that new offering because I actually did a private podcast for prospective owners with Liz Crow going over those 10 or so runners. It's a really interesting group to be
I gave
honest.
I gave some good name recognition or some name. I want someone to name a violence 25 to life. That would be good, right? And then they have a Munnings with a cup of Java or something, and I said they should name that one Mudslide. It's like the coffee drink that, you know what I mean?
That's good.
Munnings in the mud. Yeah, I figured Clay Sanders would like that one.
Nobody likes Munnings in the mud more than that lot. That's for sure. I felt very bad for them the other day when they nearly win the stake race, beaten by a Munnings in the mud. You knew they had the exact 17,000 times at least.
Absolutely.
All right, so we'll thank them, our friends at Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation. The whiskey is gone, folks. It's actually the last bottles are sitting upstairs. I'm going to go and ship them out at some point today, but they still need help, obviously, doing their mission of helping and homing these retired racehorses. trfinc.org/players. Consider them for your end of year giving. And there will be more whiskey next year. We had a question about that. Will there be more whiskey? Yes, I already have a vision for what I want our 2021 whiskey to be. And my thought, JK, was, last year we did it in September, but it just, honestly, we did not plan it, but it ended up that we had the whiskey for Derby Day. I was thinking maybe we do the whiskey again for this year's Derby Day. We'll have a few more months. Maybe I'll get a few more cases bottled so that folks will have a chance. Have you still have that? You have it open yet, or is it still? No, it looks like it's still sealed back there.
If I didn't have to pick up Austin today, I'd open it right now. But
don't do that. Don't do that.
But speaking of TRF, the hoodies, the I won and so did they. The retweet contest I did, I picked the 5 winners. George Barnes, Stephen Pozzoli. I should have had you look at this one.
Yeah.
Scott Campbell, Roxanne, Tanner, and Bree Madison. They won there. So Kurt, our friend at Old Smoke, is sending those over. And Kurt and I agreed. We have an agreement of JK +1 or the JK collection deal we're working on now. So we'll have some stuff coming out pretty soon.
When are they available for pre-order?
I don't know. We ordered 144 shirts. I'll say that.
Oh, that's great.
They we're hoping maybe April they'll get here, so we'll have them in time for Derby. Obviously, they're backed up a little bit, but yeah. So that we'll announce it as it gets a little bit closer. We'll probably do a little pre-order, but we also want to let it happen as it were.
We had real fun with that one-time contest. I couldn't believe how divisive it was with people liking each of the 2 different designs. I didn't look at the final results. We have to see if there was anything definitive enough. At some point, we might have to roll out both of those at this point. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see what happens. And JK mentioned the hoodie. You can buy one, and it comes with a baked-in $75 donation to TRF. Easiest way to probably buy the shirt is to go to inthemoneypodcast.com/oldsmoke. And remember to use the promo code MONEY on that site to get free shipping. And you'll see all the shirts we have available. More inventory on that coming soon. That's going to do it. Unless you have anything else, JK. You wrapped?
That's it.
That's going to do it for this edition of the show. It's been a production of In the Money Media. Our business manager is Drew Coatney. Our chief creative officer is Jonathan Kinchin. I'm Peter Thomas Fornitel. May you win all your photos.